Hello, let's talk about past lives. You're like, who's this girl? Why is she talking about past lives? Hi, I'm Maggie. I trained with a hypnotherapist to do past life regressions and past life regression hypnosis. So I have done all the research on past lives. I have helped so many people get into their own past lives, and my bookings are open for April. So if you do want to grab one, it's just below, just so you know. But let's talk about what past lives are, how they might be affecting you, and maybe why it's important to know, other than just being interesting. Let's get into it. Let's talk past lives. What are they? I mean, I think they're pretty self explanatory from the get go. Past lives, lives we have lived in the past, lives we have lived before now. Some people really subscribe to these, some don't. If you're watching this, you must subscribe to them a little bit. You must be at least a little bit interested in them. And you can believe this on a spiritual sense. You can believe that your soul has traveled to different places, spaces, and times. When I do past life regressions with some of my clients, sometimes they don't even go into like earthly lives. Sometimes they're like in these in between spaces, in these other places, but that's a whole other topic. We're mostly going to focus just on earthly past lives in this video. This is the concept that your soul has been here before. It's the concept of reincarnation, that when you die, rather than ceasing to exist or maybe going off and leaving Earth forever, you return for different lives in different bodies in different ways at different times. And beyond just the idea of having a soul and just faith-based beliefs in an afterlife, in the soul, what we have done before, the science behind it is the scientific law of thermodynamics. So, this is the idea that nothing can be created or destroyed, everything is just a new mixture. No energy can be destroyed or even really created, it's just all a new mixture of itself. So, this means whether you believe it to be like brain waves, or whether you believe it to be a soul, or you believe in both. I mean, you should believe in brain waves at the very least, they are real. But whether you believe in both, this is the energy that is reforming and going into new places of existence. It cannot be created or destroyed, so it just is. It is within you now, and it will be once your human body is gone. And this is the part of ourselves that we tap into when we go into something like past life regression, when we're talking about working with past lives. Right off the bat, before we get into different things, I want to make this clear because I've seen this online, and this is a big no for me. Wave that red flag. Just because you do a past life regression and you find out that you are of a different race, a different culture, a different person, have different experiences, this does not give you the right to appropriate that culture. It doesn't give you the right to diminish other people's lived experience in this life. When you do past life work, it's supposed to tell you more about how you act and your soul, and a way to sort of free yourself from that past life or harness the goodness from it to move you forwards in this life. It's not to like appropriate. It's not to be like, I have a right to your culture now because I lived a past life like that. This can be like a belief you hold for yourself that you lived that past life, but we don't use it to appropriate, we don't use it to pull people down, and we don't use it to like actively go against someone being like, you hurt me in a past life. You know what? They're a new person. They might not have that same experience as you to go into past lives. So it's not necessarily things we use externally as blame, as justification, as anything like that. It's something that's purely for your own self-development and your own awareness of who you are and the role you've played in this world, and to help you heal or to help you move forward or help you embrace something. So now let's talk about why past lives can be important. Like, what's the point of knowing them other than the fact that they're just super interesting? Aren't you a little curious? You can be real with me. Aren't you just a scooch, and little teeny curious? Because I am a curious cat and I want to know everything. But we often carry these memories and ties and blocks and all of this stuff within our subconscious body, within our subconscious mind in these lives. We don't realize why we're afraid of something. We don't realize why our intuition goes off about something else. We don't realize why we feel this pull or tug towards a person, place, or thing. It's like, this makes no sense to me. And then you go into a past life and you realize, oh, it's not actually me. It's my soul recognizing something from the past and trying to pull me towards something familiar. It's trying to work through an energetic or karmic imbalance that was left behind. So I'm being pulled towards that. I really feel called to that. I feel like I have a block there, and it's just influences from a past life. And sometimes even just that, realizing this is not me and my story right now, can be enough to just cut that energetic tie. But sometimes, it can take some practices, it can take some reworking. But regardless, it can be very, very illuminating and can help you move forward. So for example, if you have a fear or a phobia, and it just really doesn't make sense. Like you have a fear of water, but you've never experienced any trauma around water. You've never known anybody to really experience trauma around water. Like there's nothing really there to spark that. Sometimes you may have like drowned in a past life. You may have been on a sinking ship. You may have had other water-related traumas or experiences that are subconsciously coming through to be like, water is a no. It's a big X. You could, on the other hand, have these like affinities and talents from a past life. So you could really easily pick up on the knowledge of something. You could have just a knack for music. You could be naturally athletic. And sometimes this is because this is something we have mastered in a past life, and that's just subconsciously coming through yourself as you are in this life. Sometimes it could be that you were very impoverished in a past life and now it comes to you clinging and trying to control things and trying to hoard things into your life, control problems, control issues. That can come and you're like, this makes no sense from my actual lived experience. And then you go into a past life and you realize what's coming through and where that block is coming from. And it helps you release that control to be like, this is not me, this is not my experience now. These affinities are where we get things like natural talent or child prodigies, or just this like really big inner knowing that feels like an unlocking rather than a learning. A lot of the time this is because subconsciously we already know how to do this. Subconsciously we've learned or mastered this before. It could also be why you have a pull towards something in this life. Maybe you always wanted to paint, but in a past life you didn't have enough money to. And suddenly you're in a life where you have a little bit more abundance and you can paint. So you feel that pull towards it. Maybe you always wanted to do something, but you weren't allowed to. It was forbidden. It was just not possible. And so now you feel that pull towards learning it in this lifetime because it's something that you were never given the opportunity to do in the past. Another sign that a past life might be impacting your life or affecting you is like a fascination or a draw towards a certain time period or a certain place in the world. When our soul has lived somewhere before, there's a lot of energy tied to that place. You may feel a pull towards a culture, a city, a country, wishing to know more about it. And sometimes when you travel to these places, memories come back, this feeling of knowing or just sort of revelations happen to you because you've been here before, your soul remembers being there. So those are feelings you may have within you, but let's talk about these pull towards people. Let's talk about soulmates, karmic relationships. They're all these buzzwords from past life rhetoric. And let's just start with soulmates. Soulmates are someone who your soul has known in the past. We tend to travel sort of in soul groups. We're tied to other people who have played really good roles in our lives or bad roles in our lives. If someone has made significant impact on your life, you have most likely had a past life with them, and now you're either balancing out or you're going towards them because it feels safe. However, in this lifetime, we don't necessarily have the enlightenment or understanding of this was a bad person in my life or this was a good person in my life. We just feel this knowing, we just feel this pull a lot of the time. When it comes to soulmates, this is always good. People talk about it like it's the love of your life. You have one soulmate. You can have so many soulmates. Girl, you can have so many soulmates. These can be family members, friends, or romantic love interests. It's people who your soul feels safe with because they've always been a safe and healing place for you. This doesn't mean they're going to be perfect. This doesn't mean if you've had one fight, you've had one problem, this person isn't a soulmate to you, but it does mean that this is a good person for your soul's growth. This is someone your soul is safe with, and you don't have to always be changing or trying or moving through things to be validated and held by this person. Whereas karmic relationships are someone who you have a karmic imbalance with them. You have hurt them in a past life or they have hurt you in a past life. I think we so many times go into past life being like, I'm so perfect and I've never hurt anybody. And like, let's be real, you've hurt people even in this life. Everybody has. We're only human. So sometimes there are people that you have a karmic imbalance with, and sometimes it's people that have done you wrong, right? And when these people come into your life, it's usually a little more tumultuous. There's usually lessons to learn, things to overcome, or you have to cut that cord, and let them go. Sometimes with past lives, you can have a really hard time with boundaries because you have made a vow to that person, a promise to that person. There are people out there who were like knights and they vowed to protect kings and queens and princesses and princes and the royal family, or protect their people of their city. And when they come across this person again, they have this need to protect them. And you cross all sorts of boundaries with that person, or you let that person just boss you around, tell you whatever, and you'll do what they say, because that's the power dynamic that's always been within your souls, that has been playing out between your souls. So it can be hard to have that willpower and to stand up for yourself in this lifetime, but once again, realizing this is not you. And also maybe doing some cord cutting, maybe doing some energy reclaiming can really help. There's that repetitive cycles and experiences. And a lot of the time, these are same thing, karmic relationships, but rather with people. Sometimes they can be repetitive cycles with people, but also with situations that you're not learning from, that you need to cut the cord with, that you need to grow and move on and overcome. And a lot of these stem all the way back to past lives of things that you need to learn here because you didn't learn before. And it's karmically and energetically unbalanced. So those are just a few signs of past lives and how they might be impacting you. If you're ready to work a lot more closely with that, like I said, I do have my past life regressions linked down below and we can get into it together. It's a 2-hour session where we dive into your past lives. We break it down together. You will experience it. I will also channel, help fill in the gaps, and also get some messages from your spirit team, from your loved ones. And it's just such an amazing experience. I only do 4 of them a month, so they will fill up quickly. If you want to grab one again, there's a link down below. But if you enjoyed this, I'd love to do another one. We just sort of danced along the very top of the topic of past lives. There's so much more in depth we could talk about. I'd love to share my past life experiences with you, or top client moments, or whatever you want. If you want to see a past life part 2 video and what you would like to see in it, I appreciate you so much. Leave me a little green heart if you've made it this far. Or should I do it like the Gen Z way? How do they do it? Got more hip? Leave a green heart, and I will see you next time. Have a magical day.